It's Judy on the radio, building dreams and achieving more, telling it just like it is. Most of all, keeping it real. Are you ready for real talk? Changing lives and communities. Real talk. Saving all our families. Real talk. Bringing hope for you and me. Real talk. Real talk with Judy. Real talk with Judy on the radio. Real talk with Judy. Real talk with Judy on the radio.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to another hour of the Real Talk with Judy show. I am Dr. Judy, your Real Talk host, and I am so glad to have you on this morning. Thank you so very much for tuning in. We are excited about today's show. Everything begins with the family. So I want to say hello and welcome, and I would like to invite you, ask you if you would to go ahead and call families, call your families, call people with children, just call everybody. Today is going to be an absolutely fantastic show. We have some very great guests on here that I know is going to really bless us. And I want you to stay tuned to the end. I have a big announcement. For the end of the show. So I want you to stay tuned so you can come on and you can hear what the announcement is, okay? So just stay tuned to the end and you'll hear what the announcement is, and I'm excited about it. Want to say hello to my mama, Mother Dr. Irma Hunter Wesley, the reason I am who I am. And I want to say again to everyone, thank you so very much for the prayers that you joined in with us, praying for our mothers, for our mother release healing. So she was released from the hospital yesterday. She's home resting. She's back to herself. She's moving. Her strength is coming back. And I just thank you all for joining in, because we do believe that prayer changes things, and it changed her health. And so I want to thank you so very much. And to my amazing husband, Superintendent Jeremy Mandrell, the reason I get to do what I do, I want to thank him so very much. And today, as your hostess, I will be navigating you through an experience of power, inspiration, motivation, faith building, and real talk issues about the family with some real family people. So we're excited about that. All right. And these shows have been made possible for 5 years because of partners who believe in us, both business and individuals. And I want to say thank you for investing 5 years of your time with me. Greatly appreciate it. And today's show is brought to you by my mama. My mama is bringing us this show today. And I want to thank you, Mama. And thank you to all of my partners, Life Changers, Superintendent Jeremy Mandrell, Dream Builders, K&D, Designs and Marketing Solution, Priscilla John Lewis, Tawanda Davis Photography and Elevate Church, Tallahassee, the law offices of Craig J. Brown, PA, Dr. Michelle Mitchum, and the Tallahassee Woman Magazine, A1 Top Notch Security LLC, Antonio and Felicia Hall owners, the Tallahassee Sister Girls Network, the Jeff Paint and Body Shop, TC Bakery featuring Mary's Kitchen with Jennifer Young, Tanya Wesley, Carolyn and Douglas Waddell, Danette McBride, Attorney Judith Harkin, Faye Brewerton, Pastor Tracetta Alexander, James Evans, and to all of the sponsors and investors and partners of the Real Talk with Judy show, thank you so very much. I get to do what I do because you invest in these shows, and I want to say thank you. Also, I want to invite those others who would like to become partners or invest in this show. I want to invite you to visit my Cash App. And that's it, scrolling to the bottom, $ Real Talk with Judy. That's my Cash App. That's the $ Real Talk with Judy. Or you can visit my website at www.realtalkwithjudy.com. That's www.realtalkwithjudy.com. So we're going to get ready to get into the show. I'm going to pray, y'all, and we're going to bring this show on because it's going to be absolutely a great blessing to you. And I am thoroughly excited about today's show. So, Father, we thank you and we praise you. We ask you to speak to the hearts of the parents, the families, from the guests on this show today. and we know it's done. In Jesus' name, amen. Well, my first guest I'm going to bring to you is he is the pastor and founder of World Youth Ministries Incorporated. They have been serving that um, youth ministry for, he's going to tell you over 40 years. So we're glad to have them. That he's the pastor of Citadel, a Praise Church of God in Christ. He's going to be joined by his wife, who's a retired educator, teacher extraordinaire. They have 4 children, grandchildren, and the wisdom that is going to help us hear how everything began with the family. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Pastor Thomas Colbert III and Lady Dorothy Colbert.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
So
Good
glad
morning.
to
Good
have
morning. Glad to be here.
we're so glad to have you, Bishop. So glad to have you, Mother Colbert. It's an honor to have you all. And I'm just excited. I'm excited that y'all are on here today. Yes. And ladies and gentlemen, my next guest is a native Yankee from Britain, Connecticut. And she has been a resident of Florida for over 30 years. While in Connecticut, her parents raised her to be confident, outspoken, and these traits have served her well to this day. That is absolutely true. She carries a bright light within her that brightens any room she enters. She is a proud and successful, yes, mother of 2 amazing young adult entrepreneurs who are taking their fields by force as a social media specialist, a semi-pro golfer, and business owner. She has a background in court stenography, legal business, and caring industry. She is the chief inspirational officer of Egg Life Enterprise. Egg Life Enterprise, where your egg life is your best of ease, grace, and gratitude. She also has a company called We Follow Up For You, which provides follow-up call services for business owner, and as a certified professional speaker. She's a best-selling author, purpose coach, and is pursuing her neuro-logistic linguistic, she'll tell me, practitioner license. She is Lori, the Illuminator Hunter. Welcome. Unmute yourself, Lori.
Oops. Thanks. Glad to be here.
And she's always wearing that smile forever and a day. Every time you see her, she's smiling. Next, and definitely not least, we're bringing to our guest. They met at Florida A&M University in 1988. They have been committed to one another ever since. Isn't that wonderful? He is a retired captain of the United States Army and the Florida Army National Guard, and has been in the financial services industry for more than 20 years. He is currently a financial service professional with New York Life, specializing in insurance, investment, retirement, and long-term planning. She currently serves in dual roles as the executive director of the Capital City Youth Development Corporation and with Leon County government as their employee engagement and performance manager. They have 2 incredible daughters who are exemplary examples of innovation, compassion, and servant leadership. Together, they share 7 godchildren, 6 degrees, 4 businesses, 1 granddog, a love of music, an abundance of love, and their unwavering faith. The Johnsons firmly believe in God and family over everything. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Mr. David and Mrs. Paula DeBose Johnson.
Hello. Good morning.
Hello, good morning. I want to say welcome to everybody, y'all. We're about to have a great time on this show today. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. I want to say hello to all of the guests who are joining. Good morning, Minister Hollinger, Dr. Clary, Gishana. We want to welcome everybody who's tuning in to the Real Talk with Judy show. Thank you all so very much for being a part. We're going to get into the show. And I am excited about the show today. And let me tell the audience, I chose these particular people because of their background, their experience, what I have noticed, how they have raised their children, their involvement in the camp, in the community. Hello, Tanya, my sister. That means my mama is watching. Hello, Abby. Man, I want to thank y'all for praying for my mama too. Y'all, everybody here know that mama is something else. All mamas, and so we want to thank y'all for your prayers. But I chose them because they have so much to say. They have raised their children, raising their children. They are making an indelible impression on the children in our community. I believe, y'all, that everything starts or begin with our family. What do y'all say?
We would say
Absolutely. Yes, with the family.
I agree. That's your foundation, is your home.
And whether we believe it or not, parents are our first teachers, both good and bad. They are the cornerstones, and whether we take that or not, and a lot of times they declare they don't know where these children get this stuff from. Can trace it back to some element in the home.
And that's what I believe. I believe good or bad, everything is learned. My belief begins in the house. I believe whether the children are respectful or disrespectful, whether they're cursing or not. I think it was Lori who mentioned that her parents raised her as a confident, strong person. And I do believe that comes from the home. I believe the confidence comes from the home. We got a plethora of problems happen out here in our community. But I believe there's something either went wrong in the home, maybe was not shared, or peer pressure outweighed the house. What you say? Now y'all can talk to me.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take that one if I could.
Yes, ma'am.
For me, my mother raised me. David and I both came from homes where we were raised by our mothers, strong mothers who set expectations for us. So we knew how far we could go. We knew what the rules were early on. And those are the same values that we instilled in our daughters. And peer pressure, let's be honest about that, is a real thing. But your children need to be more concerned about how you feel as parents than what their friends believe about them. And that was something that we worked with our daughters on. Come to us, talk to us about anything and everything. Sometimes they did, sometimes they didn't. But I needed to ensure that David and I were both on the same page. The girls knew the expectations, the girls knew the rules, and they needed to be more respectful and fearful of us than their peers. So that was the way in which we raised our girls. Would you agree?
absolutely. And not only that, we used to always tell them as they was growing up, and even now, hey, we seen that, did that ourselves. And so even though we may be older, things haven't changed. It might be a little different spin on it, but it's the same game. Okay. And so when you talk about peer pressure, those type of issues there, it was easy to say, hey, we're not that old. Some of the same things that you guys are seeing out there every day in school, the same things that we experienced when we was at school. So we can relate in that aspect there. We kind of let them go, but we would reel them back in to make sure, as we say in our household, don't do anything that would embarrass the family or shame the family in that regard.
Now, so both of you all was raised by a single mom.
Yes.
Oh, I did not know that. I did not know that. And one of the things that they said you got to have that strong male figure in the home. But you all, I mean, I know y'all probably had it somewhere around there, but being raised by that strong mama, being raised by that strong mother. Let's talk about that for a moment. And I know we're going to get into all of this, but that strong mama as a single mother, how many siblings do y'all have?
Well, now that's funny that you should ask me that. So I was raised believing that I was an only child.
Okay.
Yeah, I found out a little bit later that I had a couple of brothers,
Okay.
my father's side, and later on a sister, but I didn't find this out until well into my adulthood. But I was raised believing that I was an only child. And David, you want to share?
I do have siblings. I have four brothers and one sister. However, my mom is my grandfather's second wife, and she got me when I was 1 minute old, and she raised me as her own. I'm still fortunate to have her in our lives. Last month on the 19th, she turned 101.
Whoa.
Yes, 101. She still lives on her own. See her regularly. We talk regularly on the phone. She's here in town. I grew up in North Carolina, and so I got an opportunity to come to Tallahassee on a scholarship to be in the Marching 100 at Florida A&M University. And I have been here ever since, other than the time that I spent away in the Army. But I moved her here to be closer to me in 1995. And she's independent, but she raised me to be a God-fearing man. And she made sure I had strong male figures. You know, back then her brothers were still living. He lived next door. So I got to see a strong role model in him, as well as people in the church. And so I benefited from that. So even though essentially I was raised by a single woman, at the same time, I benefited from all the men that she screened and vetted and made sure that they were good, decent people to raise me to who I am today.
She raised an amazing son.
I love that. I love that, Paula. I think you thought that he was about to cry or shed a tear. I saw you put your arm around him to make sure he was okay. I think that is awesome. All of you all have raised so many things. One of the things, you set rules in your house. So you were able to, and that would all of y'all set rules in your house, I'm sure. How do you get your children? I know how my mama did it, but how do you get your children, especially now, to have a desire to talk to you and their peers, but to hear you?
We just made it,
Oh,
availed ourselves to them to say, hey, you can come and talk to us about any and everything at any given time in our household. There's nothing off the table that we can't talk about, whether it's good, bad, or indifference. Let's talk about it. That's learn here at home. As one of the other guests said, this is the first place where you get your education. So we just try to make sure that any and everything that they could possibly be exposed to out in the world, we wanted to talk about it here at first.
And we brought their friends here. Our kids didn't spend the night out. There were a lot of reasons for that. We were raising girls. They stayed here. This was the friend house. So we even had their friends coming in. Miss Johnson, can I talk to you about something? So sometimes it made me clutch my pearls, but we wanted to make sure that those lines of communication were open. And I needed also to make sure that their friends understood that they could come to us, because if we're talking about the village concept, you have to really mean that thing. Sometimes you can't talk to your mom, your dad, your aunt. And we needed to make sure that young people understood that they could come here, that this was a safe place. Now, we were going to go and help you tell your parents whatever we found out, but this was the house that you could come to. Everything was on the table: sex, school, work, God, all of that. We wanted to hear it. There were rules in place. We raised them a certain way, but we said, now, if you're grown enough to do some of these worldly things, you need to be grown enough to come in and talk to us about it. So thank God they heard us, they followed the rules, and we kept those lines, much like David said, of communication open. And we've also made sure that there were people, and there are very few people that grew up around our children. They, again, are our village. They also knew that they could go to that godmother, that auntie, and talk to them about what was going on if they felt that they couldn't come to us.
Anyone else want to chime in on this? All of the questions for everybody.
Yeah, I'd like to say something. First, let me just say hello to Mama Hunter. I certainly thank God for her and that the Lord is touching her body. But, you know, there's something when we were talking earlier about the peer pressure. One thing about that I found as I was growing up, Thomas and Meredith Colbert was so consistent about what they would allow to come into the house and to leave out of the house, that I was more afraid of how to deal with them than I was of the peer pressure that I had to deal with. And because they were so consistent, I mean, I had to do things like I was very heavily into sports, but I had to learn how to make my bed, how to cook, how to wash clothes before I was allowed to go out and do the kinds of things that other kids were doing. And even though some of the kids would ask, well, why, what you doing now? You in there cooking for the family? It was very easy to realize that Thomas and Meredith Clover just would not play. And if we're consistent with our children, they don't worry about how things go in the household, as long as we're consistent and as long as we're fair. And so if we're going to talk about raising the family, be consistent, be fair with your children.
Yeah, and I would agree with you, Pastor Colbert. I think that's one of the problems we have in this day. Our parents aren't consistent, so they say one thing and they do another. But I think that consistency, it has to be there. And how early do y'all think that parents need to get involved in their children's life?
Momentarily, from the beginning of, I think part of the issue is that we think all these little idiotic things are cute. When they say what all of this repeat echo stuff, we think it's cute, we laugh. And to the kid, he does not. I found out the children don't know the difference between one adult and another. If you allow him to disrespect whoever you don't like, look for it, because that is in their DNA, let's say. But adults don't matter to them. And so if I can disrespect Miss So-and-so who mama don't like, mama, look out. Because he gonna slang that same word at you. If you let him disrespect grandma, look out. And so it's beginning, the teaching has to be very early. We train them to go to potty at 2 and whatever. We better start teaching values. We better start teaching whatever it is that we think are important at that early age where they grow up with this. Can't retrain a teenager without some heavy, strong stuff, some heavy penalties. And I don't mean necessarily the law, but some tough love. But if we start these children at pre-K, at 2 and 3 at home, and when we're giggling because they're terrible twos, we're giggling because, they're being smart mouth, we're giggling because, then that becomes a part of the child. And then when he gets to be 7 and you can't handle him, now you want to try to kill him.
Right. Right.
They always say,
I was going to say that you need to start very early. I think in the beginning, they need to fear you. They need to think they mama and daddy crazy. Like if I get in trouble, my mama's going to kill me. That's like healthy fear. You know what I mean? I remember my daughter trying to talk the teacher out of putting her thing on a red light. Like, no, I got to get back to green before the day is over because I have a crazy mama. So I think that there's a time for them to actually fear you. But even in that, there needs to be communication. And as far as how early to be involved, I think before they come out the womb, you should be involved with that child. They're getting what's coming into you while you're carrying those children. So I think that's important. And like what Mother Colbert said, I always told, especially my daughter, I said, today they're going to tell you this is cute. Like, oh, she's so sassy. It's so cute. I said, tomorrow you could have a birthday and the next day that same action for other people be, oh, she's so grown. She's so fast. I said, people will change on you. So we're going to curtail whatever behavior at whatever age, because you need to be respected and respectful the entire time, because people's opinions will change in the matter of a day.
And that is
Great.
powerful. One of the things,
I
one
remember
of the things that
sorry. I'm sorry, Pastor Judy.
go ahead. No, go
I
ahead.
was
Go
going to
ahead.
say my great aunt always said you can't bend a tree. And I agree with what Laurie said. I remember praying over my child in the womb. I remember David talking and praying to our children while they were in the womb. But once they got here, we understood that we needed to be consistent, much like Pastor Colbert said. But you can't bend a tree. So while they're saplings, while they're green, you mold them, you bend them, you teach them, you train them so that they can grow up straight and tall. And the other part of this is, Laurie touched on it. This whole notion of not teaching your children early to be respectful, it's hard to pull bad behaviors out. So don't teach it. It's not cute. Don't start it. Then you don't have to worry about stopping that behavior.
Wow, you all are saying some powerful things. This is absolutely powerful when we don't start teaching it. So we don't start teaching bad behavior. We don't allow the things that look cute at young ages. We don't celebrate and laugh now. And Mother Cover, you said something that I really hadn't thought about. Children don't know the difference in adults. So if we allow them to do it to one, they feel they can do it to everybody, to every adult, because we allow them to do that to one. And then Paula, you come back. I hadn't heard of that either. You can't bend a tree. That's some that and Lynn wrote it down. Linda wrote it down. You can't bend a tree. And I was just about to ask you what that meant, but you came back and explained it. And that's what we want to get now, because even in our world today, I believe that we are missing. We have as a whole, the children have missed what you all are talking about. This what you all are talking about right here has to be taught to these parents, and we have to get them now while they're young. Because we got 15-year-old having children, they don't know, and we got some 30-year-olds who don't know. So now, the reason why I have you all in here, because I want y'all to help. At least let's start this conversation even more. And we got to help save these families, Lori.
I think also that we have to teach adults sometimes how to treat our children, because the adults have been taught badly, so to speak. Shut up, sit down. They like children can't ask questions. They're supposed to be seen and not heard. Really? So if you don't teach them how to make decisions as a young child, like how to pick out their clothes, then how do you expect them all of a sudden to be an adult and make sound, good, basic decisions when they never had to make a decision in their entire life until they turned 18? It doesn't make sense. Like, you have to, they're in training that entire time, but also the people that are around you. I didn't let people call my children bad. Oh, that girl's so bad. No. My children aren't bad. Your children aren't bad. Like, let's call it what it is. You don't like being questioned. You know what I'm saying? Respectfully. If someone has a question, and it may be because maybe you're insecure and you don't have the answer. But I also think that we have to train the adults around us sometimes. How you don't call my children baby kids. You don't call my children bad, or whatever the names are, grown, mannish, I don't know, whatever they are. You have to make sure that you speak life into your children, and you teach the people around you to speak that positivity and speak that life into the children, because you're the one that can control that atmosphere. And it's not up to the child to say, no, I am smart. You keep calling me stupid. No, you don't let someone call your child stupid or dumb or fast or mannish or whatever other adjectives you have. So I was real big on that you don't come around me talking about my child or anybody else's for that matter, because words have power. And like Mother Colbert said, they don't know the difference between an adult. So I could be telling them, you're smart, you're important, you can be anything you want to be. But my best friend is saying, child, you whatever. You understand what I'm saying? There needs to be consistency in the village as well.
Dr. Mandriel, I grew up probably as one of the older ones here today, and we grew up in an era when children needed to be seen and not heard.
Right.
We did not, and until this day, um, s- sometimes I say to my grandchildren, if I wanted you to have an opinion, I'd give you one. Because we are growing up with this generation of folk who want to hear everything their kids had to say. I didn't grow up that way. My mama and my grandmama did not really care about what I had to say if it differed from what they were saying at the time. But I think now, as we're learning differently, that we need to use as we're saying, the village concept, that not only for my child, not only for your child, but for the children of the parents who can't speak for them. And I see this so often, I know in the school systems, is that parents are not welcome there a lot of times, and they don't have the tools to articulate what it is they're trying to say. And when they come in yelling and screaming and cussing and carrying on, they're discounted totally. But those of us who can go in and advocate for not only your child, but to speak for everybody's child in there. There were some things happening with one of my grandchildren, and I said to the administration, when you get this right for her, then maybe everybody else in that classroom will benefit. Because I'm not just speaking for this one little child. I'm speaking that this information and this way of work and this whole situation needs to change so that all of these children will benefit. And I think that's where we're going to have to come off as those of us who say we're in a better place of assisting these folk who are not there yet, in saying, I understand where you're coming from. I understand where you are, because my children were not always the goodies. They weren't always the best. They, regardless of what we taught them at home, church, Sunday school, YPWW, they did some things that were way off. Anybody who knows my son. And sometimes it was peer pressure. Sometimes he was involved. Other times he was just in the place. And our kids don't understand that being in the place at the same time that something happens means you are in it. And so but I didn't do anything. You were there. You are getting caught up. And that's what we're seeing a lot of times with some of our law enforcement issues. The kids are saying, but I didn't do anything. But you were there.
You were there.
And so as you're talking about families, each one reach one. Those that you have a sphere of influence over. Let's start there. Next, your environment, your family members, let's start there before as we try to impact the larger community.
Yeah, I too was one
You
of
know,
those.
if I can just add something to that, we are living in an age now where a lot of the parents cannot visualize what their family ought to look like. They're out when I was growing up. Actually, both of my parents worked as I was growing up, but many of the parents had one parent staying home, one parent working. But the thing is that back in the day, people understood that what they wanted their family to look like, how they wanted their family to appear. Somebody said something earlier today that when you go out, just make sure you don't embarrass the family. Well, those were the kinds of things because the family, the parents understood what they wanted their family to look like. But these days, we got children trying to raise children, but they're trying to have a good time, and so they're failing to do the parenting types of things because they're trying to still be that child, trying to still be the fly parent, trying to still be the one who's popular, and they're forgetting to do the parenting thing that comes with the child.
Could I also add something? And thank you both for that, both Pastor and Mrs. Colbert. Part of it was right on the tip of my tongue, and then I just kind of walked it back. But there are a couple of things. We do have a lot of young people who are trying to navigate this world on their own, and they haven't been taught. But first, you have to also be teachable. We have been out to the schools with our children's friends' children because their parent had to work. They couldn't be there for whatever reason. So we would absolutely stand in their shoes or stand in their stead when they couldn't be there. So when people offer themselves or offer up their time, you have to be willing to say, yes, I need help. And yes, I would like you to do that for me. But you have to also be able to listen to advice. And that's what I'm finding for some of our younger people. They don't have to struggle as hard as they are if they would just kind of push down that ego. We all had to do it. I had a lot of people that stepped in because my mother worked like a dog to ensure that I had what I need. And I was that term latchkey kid. So I spent a lot of time by myself from first grade. And I understood the rules of the house. I understood in order to be safe while my mother was away, I wasn't supposed to let people in. I wasn't supposed to let people know that I wasn't there. But when she called someone else to help to get me somewhere because she wouldn't take me, she couldn't take me, I knew to follow the rules. She knew that she had to accept their help. And those are things that young people also need to understand. We're there. We're there to help them. We want to be there for them, but they've got to hear us. And that's one of the things that I'm struggling with because we want to be helpful. We want to help the next generation, but they have to also be teachable.
So how do we do that? How do we do that when they don't even have trust? I mean, they don't have trust they don't have
Right.
trust from home. They don't have trust in the community. They don't like they don't know the adults. They don't trust some adults because mama ain't home, daddy ain't home, or they home or whatever. So how do we get this? Because we're losing. My goddaughter and I was talking yesterday. She's 16, and I said I don't know what the generation after you gonna be or what they're gonna do because she's 16 and they got opinions like me. When I grew up, my mom allowed us to have opinion. Now y'all check this out. My mom and dad allowed us to have the opinion, but when I gave mine, I still got a whooping. But they told me I could voice my opinion. So
Right.
but when I gave it, then
It's okay though.
but I still got a whooping.
Because it doesn't matter though, because you were probably still wrong. You were probably still wrong. But at least she gave you the respect as a human being to respectfully give your opinion. You were probably still wrong, so you got a whooping. I'm just saying. But she still let you voice it. And to me, I hear from, my children are basically millennials. And what I hear a lot of from them is that older generations talk so badly about the next generation. Like, y'all don't know nothing. It's just that they talk down to them so much that they're like, why would I in turn trust what you're telling me when you do nothing but basically belittle me or say that I don't know anything about anything?
Wow.
I know so listen to this. When I first came to the South, and my parents are from the South, so no shade on anything. Please don't take me wrong. But what I did see is, I lost my thought. Sorry. That they talk to the way that adults talk to children was slightly different to me. So okay. I had a girlfriend that talked to my daughter and she meant well, but she would be like, girl, come on over here and give me a kiss. Girl, you better get over here and give me a hug. Well, Abigail looked at her like, you're yelling at me, not coming. You know what I'm saying? Like, why are you yelling at me, but you're telling me to come to you? Like, what does this mean? Which is kind of conflicting. So I had to explain to her, if I'm yelling at you, I mean to be yelling at you. Like, I'm not going to have that tone, but be saying loving words. If I have that tone, it's because you're probably about to get your behind beat or I'm scolding you. Like you can't, the conflict there. So just like in business, in order for someone to listen to you, they have to learn to know, like, and trust you. I feel like it's the same thing. We can't just go in there as maybe the older generation and be like, y'all need to listen to me because I've been living longer and I know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? You have to kind of slow down a minute and build that trust. They have to figure out who's talking to them. Why should I trust what you're telling me? Why should I take what you're saying as an authority? I don't care what kind of papers you have behind or letters behind your name. I still need to know that it's okay for me to take your word for what you're saying and that you're going to still be there. You're going to be consistent, like Mother Colbert said, or somebody said to be consistent in your actions. So I think that has something to do with it. We have to slow down enough to get them to know us, learn us, like us, and trust us. It's not automatic trust because you walk in the door.
There is a difference between the millennials and the Gen Zers. In our time, it was do as you are told. You respect me because of my age. For millennials and Gen Zers, that's not where they are. They feel like they are entitled to the same respect when they walk in the door. You have to earn their respect. They're not going to automatically give it to you. So I agree with everything you said, Lori. I think you're absolutely right. We have to also extend the olive branch, but they have to also be willing to accept it. So there's give and take on both parts.
Yeah.
And there is something to this whole notion of the elders. God ordained that thing this way. So nobody can be mad at us for following the rules. God designed the way the family was supposed to look, the way it was supposed to run, and its order. Would you agree, baby?
Yes.
So if they don't need to be mad with us, they need to talk that over with the Lord. He said,
and I think that's important because the millennium, sometimes they could be totally disrespectful because they don't want to hear it. The Genzers, they can be the same way. And I think that it's a big communication thing because everybody is needed in their spirit. Everybody. He called the old because they're wise. And he called the young because they're strong. And there's a scripture when Rehoboam, I think it was, when he got in position and he needed decision of where to go, but the younger people told him to go that way. And the older people told him to go that way. He decided to go with the younger people and he lost everything. And so, and I think I believe that we have to know how to work. That's why I have all us on here, is because so we can hear, because we got grandmamas raising babies because the child is gone. And so in order to save our families and to help our communities and to bring some stability there, we have to have a balance up in here. Okay. The Bible says to raise them in the fear and admonition of the Lord. You know, and I believe that 100%. I think we have to do this well-roundedly. We got to get in here now at birth, as soon as they get in the womb. And then I think now they done took, y'all can correct me, Mother Colbert, y'all, the most informative years now from 0 to 7. It was 5, but it's 0 to 7 now. And after a while, it's going to be 0 to 12. After a while, it's going to be 0 to 15 because
50.
it's kind of 50. Yeah. So how do we, and you all said we got to help everybody, but we got to help the home because we don't get these children in these homes situated. By the time they get out here in the street, and that means, and not just our children now, y'all, we got to help other people's children. But other people got to trust us too. So
Dr. Mandrell, I think part of the issue is that we have lost the art of respect. That the Bible said, do unto others as you would, just like you want folks to do to you. But we've taken that 2 or 15 steps backwards. Do unto others before they do unto you.
wow.
And that's the code of the streets. Until we go back to fundamentals, which I believe is the Word of God, until we have a church community that is willing to stand up, and I don't care what the laws say, to promote with all due diligence that God is Lord, that this is what He requires of us, to do justly, to love mercy. And until we go back to that, we have lost this generation, and one I guess before, just before mine, we are losing them as far as church goers, church believers. And when we take God out of everything, I don't mean just the school. I don't mean we've taken him out of the homes. We've taken him out of the school. We've taken him out of the church. We've taken him out of legislature. Until we acknowledge who God is and teach that on a consistent basis, I don't care what the noise is in your ear, until we train our children in the way they should go. And I say often, training is forced obedience. You teach, but when you're training somebody to do something, it is, I don't care what you feel about this pumpkin. This is the way we're going to do this task. I know, when they're trying to train these lions who are animals not to eat you, there are some tools that they have that they use, which is not always feathers. There are some lashes. There are some hard times that we're going to have to be willing to do to train these children, to train these families in the way they should go, which is the fear of God.
Yeah.
And until we get back to that, I think all of us and our families and our parents had some kind of foundation in God. When the only thing we could do, some of us, it was the only thing we could do, and I say this and laugh, people said, marbles were in the Bible because they said marble not. So until you don't play marbles, so you couldn't play marbles because the Bible says so. But in other words, until we get back to what God, like Sister Paula said, until we get back to the principles of God and of holiness and of living right and of treating people right and loving people, we're going to continue to have chaos because it's coming from our homes. A better church makes a better home, makes a better country, makes a better, until we learn love, not just placating me, not just liking my ways, but unless we learn to love as God said, we are in a conundrum.
Dr. Colbert, Brother
Yes,
Dave?
I do. We lost because we fell wholesale for the enemy's trick when he told us that school was more important than the home. It comes to a point. I mean, even now we find that all of the sports teams, they will have practice on a Sunday morning. I mean, and we will make sure that our children get to a Sunday morning practice, but we won't make our children be in the church play. There comes a point when, if you teach the children that the school is more important than the home, you begin to lose there. I believe we need to make sure that people understand the importance of the home and what and the value of the home. God started and He put in place the family long before there was ever a school. And we've got to make sure that we get back to bringing the value of what it means to be a parent, especially the man in the home. His primary responsibility is to make sure that the children learn about God. When I do counseling for people who are getting married, the one thing I'll say, while both parents are responsible, that man needs to be sure to teach the children about God. And if he's focused on teaching the children about God, don't you know that he also himself then dedicates himself to be there in the place of God so that he can do what he's supposed to do? And so we've got to get back to putting the family first as the primary source of bringing things back in order. If my people that are called by my name would humble themselves and pray, seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, we got to get back to making sure that in all of our churches and all of our communities, that we understand that the family can do more to babysit than any school can.
Wow, Brother David.
Well, I've been quiet and taking in everything here, all these great comments. We always focus on trying to meet our kids where they are, particularly their friends, so that we could do what Ms. Laurie said. I mean, even this past weekend, as we was helping our youngest daughter begin her professional career, she wanted to voice her opinion with regard to how she wanted her apartment to look. We met her where she was, but she also had friends come over, and one of them is a male friend, and trust me, he was a big help, helping me move things around. But, he was taking in the knowledge. I was just quiet, and we would interact and have little conversations, but meeting him where he is with regard to the conversation we was having, very great. You can tell he's raised by a God-fearing family, but there were certain things like hanging drapes, certain things like putting together certain pieces of furniture and things of nature. There are things that he probably has done, but I was explaining to him like, hey, you don't want to use a power tool with regard to working with particle board type stuff or wood, because you can strip the screws and all those type of things there. Sometimes it's best to be a little bit more deliberate and slow and putting things in. He was taking all those things in. And on Sunday when we left, he was like, hey, Mr. Johnson, I want to say thank you for letting me learn from you this weekend with regard to seeing you interact with your daughter, but also doing some things that are like manly, putting together things that typically kids like me, he's a young man, he's a rising senior in college, that we just don't see anymore because it's all technology now. But I got to see some things that I don't actually see, anymore. We talked about, we could pay somebody to come in, but I still like to use my hands. And that's a lost art in this day and time, a lot of times, that there's things that, a man can teach even quietly just by actions, that young people can learn from. And so he was very appreciative, and I enjoy spending time with him. And that's what I think a lot of times we have to do in our village to help our kids. Just be there, meet them where they are, share with them things, and let them see you do things that are good examples for them for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, I was going to say also that, oops, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say also that Pastor Colbert was talking about prayer, and prayer is a type of communication. And sometimes we pray the same way we communicate with other people. We talk, and we never listen, right? And so our communication skills sometimes naturally are the same as they are spiritually. So sometimes when we're talking to people, we're talk, and we don't quiet ourselves enough to take in and listen to hear what the other person is saying, including the young people or your children or whoever else you're talking to. You're already formulating what your answer is going to be, how you're going to come back. That is not effective listening. Right. You're taking a piece of what they said and you're already thinking about your answer. And we do the same thing with prayer. We're like, Lord, we need this. And so he's telling you, be quiet. Okay, let me be quiet. But the next thing I need to ask for, because this is how I need it done. And this is how I need, you see what I'm saying? Those communication skills. And one thing I learned, my daughter is a social media specialist. So she teaches, she calls us the seasoned generation, because I was like, that old thing is not going to work. So she calls us seasoned, right? So she teaches a lot of seasoned people how to use social media effectively in their business. And one of the things she said to me, she said, I learned how to talk to the seasoned generation because our way of communication is different. She said, I would say things to you and I would think if I explain it, it's going to make you feel like I'm saying you're dumb. So I just kind of put it out there because I'm thinking, respectfully, I don't want you to think I'm trying to make you sound like you don't know. I said, no. We need you to explain slowly. Explain it. Slowly explain how to use this IG stories or whatever on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, or you get what I'm saying? And it wasn't a matter of respect or disrespect. It was a difference. And that's what we're going through in the world right now. There are differences. And we have to respect the differences. This generation has a whole new, I'm a fanatic about speech and communicating and all of that. And if you listen, this generation has a whole new cadence. They even speak in a different rhythm than we do, right? And it's quick and it has a different pattern to it. And it just happens throughout generations. They change. They don't have the same speech patterns. And we can be so sensitive to think they're just talking all fast. You know what I mean? It's just like we have to slow down enough to respect the differences. It's not always that they're coming at you or they think they know everything. I'm telling you, the way they talk, you have to take all of what we think of how that speech would have meant in our generation. That's not what it means for them. It's just a different cadence of talking a lot of times.
Yeah.
So I think we have to learn from each other and learn, and we can take that same thing spiritually as well. Listen, we have to learn. We have to learn how to listen so that we can go forward and do.
Yeah, we do. I'm dealing with 5 families, 27 children, in the family affairs program. 5 family, 27 children. It was 6 family, 37 children, because one family had 10 children. But they moved, so that left me. I'm like, whoo, that's a lot of family. However, coming back to the communication stuff, you're absolutely correct, because most of them are between 5 and 12. Their understanding and my understanding is really an age difference. And so when I say certain things to them, and they're looking at me like, but when they say stuff back, it's like, and I'm like, y'all don't understand what I'm saying? The 12-year-old said, well, Pastor Judy, you don't seem to understand what we saying. I said, girl, I will pull this van over and hang you over there across the fence. I said, you don't talk to me like that. She said, well, how do I talk to you? Because it seems like you don't understand. She said, that's all I was saying. You don't understand. I said, you still talking? And she said, what do you mean? I said, when I grew up, if I would have said all those words that you just said to me, my mom probably would have popped me in my mouth. And you know what she said? She said these words, well, I'm not 60. She's absolutely correct. But my blood was going some kind of way. So when I got back home, I was talking with her mama, and her mom said, "Oh, they get to express, and I know it may seem disrespectful to you." She said, "But I just let her talk." I said, "And that's good." And she said this, and I get to release on her. That's not good, because the child is 12, and her mother's only outlet is this 12-year-old. Because she said, and her mom's words was, I get to release on her. So we're dealing with this generation, and the mama got a newborn now. Well, yeah, a newborn, a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 8-year-old, a 10, 11, and 12-year-old, and the mama's 34. Did I get all those numbers?
And so you're dealing with untrained teenage. I'm trying to be careful saying that. You're dealing with somebody who is looking for somebody else to give them the gratification they never had. And in some of our circles, having children is it. But this is where now it's not the child, it's not the children now that the emphasis needs to be on. Somebody's got to get in there and succor and love on and mama. Because if that is her only outlet with 6 or 7 children, she is in crisis. And it was while we're trying to change the outward appearance of children, we can't, because their family unit is
In crisis.
way broken. So the thing now, Dr. Mandrell, is that while you deal with the children, we need another set of hands in there with mama and her mental health and her being able to express herself in a way that adults will understand. She needs to learn how to deal with grown people, which she doesn't probably have, because if she started having children at 15,
Yeah.
that's where she stopped
Yeah.
in her maturation. So we got another whole issue there,
Yeah.
that not only these children, but the mama now needs to have somebody to help her grow up from that 15-year-old that she had when she first had that first baby doll.
Wow, first baby doll. And that's why I believe we are, y'all. We got to strengthen our family from the parents down to the children. And so we got to find out how to do that, because I do believe everything starts with the family. So somewhere up in there, mama missed or didn't receive the necessity of the home. Would y'all agree? She didn't receive. I know Cindy here said we got to be examples. This is what this is my thought, y'all. That now we're living in a time and era that people like all of you on here, all of these people here who are making comments, people. I mean, Talithia Edwards had the collective thing last night. I believe everybody's trying to help. My belief is we got to get in that house. We got to help those families. That's my honest belief. We got to help these families. How do
I
you make
believe that.
go
I
ahead?
believe that. I believe that too. And as a single, being a single parent for so many years, and what I found is every time I try to get something going for single parents, I think it's almost like, I don't know, like there's this intuitiveness where they put themselves last, no matter how young or how old. So even when you have something for them to come to where they know they can get some help, they're so busy not counting themselves worthy enough of it that they won't take that time to make arrangements to get themselves to the place. So I'm thinking that maybe there is something to you saying that we're going to have to come to them,
That's what
because
I'm
they
saying.
don't have the wherewithal, they don't have the, you know what I mean? Just the
Yeah.
wherewithal within themselves to say, well, I'm going to take this time to go to this seminar because it's for single parents and I know I can get a skill set. It's just, sometimes you're too tired. Sometimes you just feel like, well, they're going to be smart and I'm not going to. It's just a whole bunch of things that can go on in your mind that's not necessarily the truth.
Yeah,
So I think that there's something to Mother Colbert saying that we have to get to them, and it may have to start on an individual basis.
and that's exactly
We may have to, yeah.
that's exactly what I'm saying. That's why I started the Family Affairs program. It goes in the home. They're not
Yeah.
going to come out to the home and trust anybody until we build that trust. Then they will come to what we're offering. This mama got sick. She got all these children. Another one got all the clothes in the living room. That's embarrassing for them.
For you to come in.
For me to come in and start. And so right now, I haven't said, right now, Mother Cole, we're just trying to find people who would go. I sat on the couch and went down. The spring cut me. So the next day, I wore thick jeans because they weren't going to cut those jeans.
Sister
But I
Mandrell,
sat in the
Dr.
same
Mandrell,
spot so they wouldn't feel embarrassed. Yes, ma'am.
when you're picking up the children or when you're going places with the children, sometimes you're going to have to include them,
Well,
so that can
yeah.
say,
Well,
I'm just saying as a
yeah,
group,
yeah,
as a
yeah,
whatever. That's
yeah,
what some of the things that we're going to have to do is include. This is a family trip, so
yeah,
Mama, you come on too,
yeah.
and go to Cascade,
We went to
and everybody
Walmart.
walk.
We went to
Yeah,
Walmart. Everybody walk. We went to Walmart and just spent over $300 some on Mama. No, on mama. Just bought her some clothes. And I mean, she's so happy. I mean, they're happy. And so it's things like this. But my thing is, it's not just for me. We're gonna bring in people, because I know my part. I'm a social worker at heart, but there's other people who have to do every other thing, even with the men. Both of you have raised girls, and to come in and say, hey, this, even our little boy, I'm not having summer camp Friday and Monday. And one somebody said, well, how are we gonna eat? What are we gonna eat? So we're gonna fix some lunch and stuff for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. That's how you're gonna eat. No, we thought you were gonna have a cookout. Oh, you know. So I got some of my children at another summer camp. We're gonna go get them. We got them split up. But as we prepare to end, y'all look good. Y'all are fantastic, man. Each one of y'all, how do we make home sweet? Lynn put on here, Sister Linda, I want to put this. One of the things that Cindy said was, and I think that we're gonna use this in there, we have to teach parents to say, I'm sorry that I messed up. I apologize. And we do that when we're wrong. And that's what would, I mean, it's so many dynamics we have to work with this new generation. Lynn said she watched something on with TD Jakes the other day, and I want to put that up, y'all, and let's maybe everybody could go with it. Daddy issues. TD Jakes and his daughter Sarah Jakes Roberts. So for those of you listening, go watch it. And this is just a small talk. I'm not gonna be able to do it all right now. So in about a minute or so, y'all tell what make home sweet home again. What make home? Tell some things that make home sweet. What do you think? What make home sweet?
Pastor Judy?
I'll do it because I know I gotta go. I gotta go to work. So I'm just gonna say it real quick. I think togetherness, respect, and fun. Fun makes home a sweet place to come to. Okay, God first, y'all. Don't think I'm forgetting the Lord, okay? Just in case He's first. Okay. But yeah.
Okay.
And I gotta run.
Okay. Thank you so very much. Thank you.
For us, again, we told you our mantra, family and faith over everything, and living that out in everything that you do. Lori mentioned fun. We used to have game nights. We don't do it as often as we used to because people have varied schedules in our home now. But making home a safe spot, no matter when they're adults, grown, they have their own families, you can come back here. This is a place of peace. This is a place of understanding. And this is a place where there's love. You're going to always be loved and accepted here.
Absolutely.
You want to add anything, Mr. David?
No, she said it all there. As we was raising our kids to say, this is where we circle the wagons. And as God, as love, again, you can talk to us about anything because the world is hard, but this is a place where you can have peace. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to hold you accountable, but this is the place where you would always be home. Even as I told my youngest one this past weekend, as we were leaving her, your home will always be where mom and dad is. So don't think just because you're out on your own now, beginning your career, you can always come back home.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. Mother Cobra, Pastor Cobra.
I think for us and our children shop at our house. They all have their own homes, but they come and shop and they come in food and cleaning products. And so and I fuss. I really do. I fuss really, really hard. But the fact of the matter that they know that no matter what, even though I may not like them every day, that I love them every day. And that is the overarching thing for our home is that you're going to be loved and you're going to be held accountable, but that we love you regardless. And even now at 60, I go over to my mom's house and it's still home for us. It's still home. She's there now. She's 91, almost 92. But that
Wow.
is home because I realize I can always go to my mama house, even though I don't have a key. I can always go to my mom house and be welcome. And so I think that's it. Just knowing that you've got somebody who's in your corner, um, good, bad, or indifferent, that we're going to be here for you.
I love it. I love it. Right before you go,
Yeah,
Pastor Colbert.
and part of what we have, yes,
Go,
part of
go.
what we have is to just remember that in home, the children need to feel that they are protected. They need to feel that they have some backup. And if we can be consistent in making sure that they feel they have the backup, they're going to make mistakes, but we have to hold them accountable. If we hold them accountable, and then we just trust that God will show us how to work with our children, they will you'll find out as they grow up, they really did hear what you were saying.
Thank you so very much. You all gave some good things that will make home sweet home again, and I greatly appreciate everybody. Whitney Marie Jones made a comment, and this may be how a lot of our family feel. She says some parents is too embarrassed to accept help. Most time, people with titles look down on those that they believe to be beneath them. Wow, and I think that's something that we have to fix. Um, we have to work. We have to work not to, because people perception is their
Yeah.
truth. So the way people see it is their truth, and so we have to work on that, because I believe that we got a lot to offer. Not that we think we all of that, but we have to be careful how we think that we are.
So, Judy, one thing I say, perception in the absence of reality is reality. So I don't care how much you tell me something different, what I see
That's
and
right.
what I perceive it to be is for me. And stop telling these folk that their reality is not real. Because you have not experienced it does not make it any less real and any less valuable. And so when we learn how
Wow.
to meet people, as Brother Johnson said, where they are, um, and then not in you know how your nose go up sometime and you didn't realize it, uh, and something happens that and you thought you didn't say that or you thought you didn't do that. We're going to have to really be careful about our nonverbal interactions with people who don't have as much as we have, because I know I have not always had what I have now,
You're right.
and some days, what I have now, I'm scared to let somebody in here. So I understand that. So we've got to just meet them where they are, accept them as they are, and then ask God to show us how we move them into a different place. Not a better place necessarily, but into a different place.
Different place.
And all of us are working towards being better persons. We're just people. And I think that it's important for us, if especially if we're going to be real about this work, is to be authentic and
Mhm.
truthful. We're all capable of making mistakes. We've all had to apologize. We've all been blessed to have do-overs or
Yes. Yes.
reviews. So for people to feel like Paula woke up perfect, never. Paula's
Never.
got no story to tell. But I'm trying every day to do a little bit better and be a better person. And
Yeah.
we all need to just remember everybody else is really walking that same walk as well.
And I honestly believe that. I want to thank you all so very much for being on here. Thank you so very much. And this is absolutely fantastic. I believe that it's a topic that needed to be discussed, and it will continue to be discussed. And we're going to get some wraparound into these families. We're going to go in these homes so we can bring them out to places that are going on. I want to thank all of the guests. Thank you all so very much for being on. Priscilla in the back door, thank you. And I do want to end with what Sister Paula just said. Y'all, we all are trying to, even those in authority, I believe everybody, I believe we really want to be better people and we want to help. So I think in the church they say, take my mistake for love. especially if they're really trying to work hard. Just know they're trying. We gonna get it. We all gonna, with all of us working together, we're gonna get it. So, to those of you, I've got people texting me talking about what's the big announcement? What you gonna announce? Are you gonna announce it? Yes, they've been texting me. Yes, I'm gonna announce it. I'm about to announce it right now. Dr. Clary, thank you so very much, Sister Witness, Victoria, Sister Lynn, Sister Cindy, Sister Tanya. Everybody, I can't go through all of the lists up here, not just Noah's voice, Doris Strong, Anna, just everybody. My cousin Karen from California, thank you, Texas. Thank y'all, Anna. Listen, this is the big news right here. Today is my last day on 98.3. Today is my last day on 98.3. Matter of fact, I am not going to be on the radio none next month. I am only going to be doing Facebook and YouTube for the month of July. That's it. Hello, Nick Chuck Feisen. That's it. So there will be no more 98.3 Real Talk with Judy. The Real Talk with Judy shows will still be on. Next month, I'm doing Facebook Live, Zoom, StreamYard, and that's going to be for the month of July. Round about July 13th or the 20th, I start telling what I'm doing. I think a fellow said, no. So around about July the 20th, I start telling. But I have absolutely enjoyed being on the radio for 5 years. Thank you, Mother Colbert, Sister Paula, and I ended with this group. I wanted to thank you all. I ended my show purposely with you all. I had all y'all in mind when I ended this show because I wanted to end on the family. We're talking about the family. And to me, family is the strongest entity in our entire society. Somebody just texted me after, where you going? To another radio station, TV? Who knows? I do. I know. I know, Sister Paula. I know. So if it's not TV, TV will be soon. If it's not TV, I'm praying. So y'all pray with me. Y'all pray with me as we make this transition. But 98.3 has been wonderful. I've enjoyed it. Just time for a new season. I will tell y'all this: whatever I'm doing, it's not gonna be 12 to 1. So I'm excited. So y'all have a good one. Priscilla, thank you. I do want everybody to go ahead and mark your calendar. July the 20th at 7 p.m. That's going to be our Sister Girls Network Fellowship Zoom. They asked to let's make it monthly for a while because the women want to be together. And Sister Paula, this is what I'm going to talk about. And this is what we're going to do on the 20th. It's going to be recognizing, celebrating, and benefiting from our differences. Recognizing, celebrating, and benefiting from our differences.
I love that.
Thank you, Sister Paula. Yeah, and that's as women. So we're gonna have. Last time I had over 100 on, and I've increased the Zoom because I believe we might have 300 people on there this time, and so we're looking forward to it. Thank you all so very much. That you'll be there, Dr. Cherry, Dr. Claire. You'll be on that next one, cause Dr. Claire, thank you for being a part of it for 5 years. Thank you so much for being a part of it for 5 years. All right. I love you guys. This has been Real Talk. Listen, y'all, I see our families in the future, and they look so much better than they do right now. And that's Real Talk.
God bless you, Dr. Judy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye, everybody.